Hey guys, welcome back to my show. Today we are going to be doing something really different. Normally we do book talks and author talks on many modern writers. But today I will be doing a book talk on a modern writer, of course. But I'll be talking about a old yet really famous author named Roald Dahl. So we'll be going to be talking about that. Third of all, I'll be talking about how do you write a contemporary realistic fiction. Fourth, we'll be talking about the life of Mindy McGinnis as a full-time author. We'll be going through these stuff and I hope you all have fun. So let's begin. I'm going to be first reading an excerpt from the book called The Maze of Bones, written by Rick Riordan. It is the first book in the 39 Clues series, and it is a New York Times bestselling book. Many of these books also have cards in them which you collect and then play the game on the website, which is www.the39clues.com. Once you look for the 39 clues, you will have more than leads which you need. So this book, which I'm going to be reading an excerpt from, is a mystery novel. And it has around 11 books in the series and additional 5 to 6 books more. So this is the one. $1 million or a clue. What would happen if you discovered that your family was one of the most powerful in human history? What if you're told that the source of the family's power was hidden around the world in the form of 39 clues? What if you were given a choice? Take $1 million and walk away or get the first clue. If you're Amy and Dan Cahill, you take the clue and begin a very dangerous race. Follow Amy and Dan around the world as they hunt for the 39 clues. To know more about this book, you may buy it on Amazon and other retail stores, and for more information you may go to Rick Riordan's website, rickriordan.com. So yeah, that was that. Now I'm going to be talking to you about Roald Dahl. He was a spy, an ace fighter pilot, a chocolate historian, and a medical inventor. He was also the author of Charlie and the Chocolate Factory, Matilda, the BFG, and a treasury of original evergreen and beloved children's books. He remains, for many, the world's #1 storyteller. He was born in Wales on 13 September 1916 to Norwegian parents Harold Dahl and Sophie Magdalene Hesselberg. Dahl was named after Roald Amundsen, the Norwegian who had been the first man to reach the South Pole just 4 years earlier. A heroic start in life, but his early years were blighted by the tragic death of his older sister Astrid and his father. Wanting the best for her only son, his mother sent him to boarding school, first to St. Peter's, Weston-super-Mare, and then in 1929 to Repton, where many bizarre events would be later recounted in his novel Boy. Pupils at Repton were invited to try chocolate bars, a memory that stayed with Dahl throughout his life, inspiring his novel Charlie and the Chocolate Factory. School days happily were behind him. Dahl's lust for travel took him first to Canada, then to East Africa, where he worked for an oil company until the outbreak of World War II. He enlisted in the Royal Air Force at 23 years old. In September 1940, Dahl received severe injuries to his head, nose, and back when his Gladiator crash landed in the Western Desert. After 6 months recovering from his injuries in Alexandria, he returned to action, taking part in the Battle of Athens. In 1953, Roald Dahl married the American actress Patricia Neal, with whom he had 5 children. who has then he got an idea through the foundation of Roald Dahl's marvelous children's charity and the Roald Dahl Museum and Story Center. In 1960, Roald Dahl helped invent the Waddell tail whales, prompted by the need to alleviate the head injuries endured by his son after an accident in New York. There's also a burst of injuries. There was also a burst of literary energy. In 1961, James and the Giant Peach was published in the US, followed by Charlie and the Chocolate Factory, and then Roald Dahl wrote screenplays for James Bond hit You Only Live Twice and Chitty Chitty Bang Bang, as well as adult novels such as Kiss Kiss and Fantastic Mr. Fox were published in 1970, the year before the film Willy Wonka and the Chocolate Factory was released. The rest of the decade saw the publication of many other classics, including the Dunny the Champion of the World, The Enormous Crocodile, and My Uncle Oswald. Roald Dahl also enjoyed enormous success on television, having already had his stories told in 6 episodes of the award-winning US series Alfred Hitchcock Presents His Tale of the Unexpected, ran for several series between 1979 and 1988 in the UK. In the early 1980s, he published The Twits, Revolving Rhymes, The BFG, and The Witches. There followed 2 autobiographical books, Boy in 1984 and Going Solo in 86. Matilda was published in 1988, Easy Trot in 1990, and finally in 1991 came the posthumous delight of the Min Pins. Roald Dahl died on 23rd November 1990 and was aged 74. He is buried in the parish church of St. Peter and St. Paul in Great Missenden, the Buckinghamshire village where today the Roald Dahl Museum and Story Center continues his extraordinary mission to amaze, thrill, and inspire generations of children and their parents. Now I'm going to be talking to you more about his books and give you an overview about what his books were like. Of course, he's a really famous storyteller, but I would like to tell you more about his books. So, let me just get that out. Okay, so first of all, I'm going to give you all a time where it all started in 2000. Let me just tell you more about his book called Charlie and the Glass Elevator. Okay, it's the sequel to one of the best-loved stories in children's literature, Charlie and the Chocolate Factory. It continues the story of Charlie Bucket, his family, and the amazing Mr. Willy Wonka. The book was dedicated to Roald Dahl's daughter Tessa, Ophelia, and Lucy. At first, Roald Dahl thought the word elevator was too American, but the British word lift seemed too boring. Air machine was considered, but the elevator came out top in the end, although it is called a lift in Charlie and the Chocolate Factory. There's one more book now which I'll be talking to you about, which is also written by Roald Dahl. Our Sweet Mystery of Life. The sweet sense of rural life infuses collection of Roald Dahl's country. But there's always something unexpected lurking in the undergrowth. Our Sweet Mystery of Life brings together 7 of Roald Dahl's short stories set in and around Buckinghamshire countryside where Roald Dahl lived. The collection was first published in 1989, but all these stories were originally written in the late 1940s. They are based on Roald Dahl's experience with his friend Claude, a man who lived in the nearby town of Amersham. Claude was an experienced poacher and shared Roald's passion for gambling in small amounts on horses and greyhounds. From troublesome cows to rat-infested hayricks to maggot farming. Sweet Mystery of Life brings tales of everyday country folk and their strange passions. And many of the characters that feature in this collection went on to have inspired the other stories. There's Parson's Pleasure, which features antique dealers and bogus clergyman called Bogus, later the name of one of the farmers in Fantastic Mr. Fox, and Danny's dad, the filling shop owner, with some ingenious methods for catching pheasants from Danny, the champion of the world, and makes an early appearance in the Champion of the World. Now I'm going to be talking to you about one of his another books called Chitty Chitty Bang Bang, the most phantasmagorical musical entertainment in the history of everything. Released in 1968, Chitty Chitty Bang Bang is a musical film adaptation loosely based on Ian Fleming's children's books of the same name. It was the second Fleming book Roald Dahl had adapted after working on the James Bond film You Only Live Twice, or third if you also count the fact that Fleming had given Roald the idea for the short story Lamb to the Slaughter. Roald Dahl and the director Ken Hughes worked on the script for Chitty Chitty Bang Bang and Albert Kuby. First of all, then Chitty Bang Bang was produced, the film. Much of the action was filmed in Turville, a small English village in the Buckinghamshire countryside, not far from Roald's home in Great Missenden. Chitty Chitty Bang Bang tells the story of two children, Jeremy and Jemima Potts. They live with their father, inventor, Characters Potts. On a day when they should be in school, they meet Truly Scrumptious, the daughter of major confectionery maker Lord Scrumptious and owner of a motor car which the Potts name Chitty Chitty Bang Bang. It's a story about a fictional country called Bulgaria and its evil rulers. People have been Baron and Baroness Bombast, who have imprisoned all Bulgaria and want to steal Chitty Chitty Bang Bang. In the story, now listen guys, what I'm going to be talking about now is going to be kind of like a spoiler. So I'm giving you a spoiler right now so that you don't get the thing spoiled for you. So I'm once again repeating, spoiler alert, spoiler alert, spoiler alert. Okay, so I guess you all know it's spoiler. So let me start. Baron Bombast kidnaps the Potts children's grandfather, mistakenly believing he's the magical car inventor Jeremy Truly and the travel inventor. To rescue him, but when they arrive, Jeremy and Jemima fall foul of the Baron evil child catcher, who's played in the film by Robert Helpman. Now I'll be moving on to his characters. Now it's really important that we know the wonderful characters he built and wove to make them stuck in our imagination. Till date, many people remember the characters because they feel that they've been doing a great job. So since they are very good, you can actually understand the feelings which have been passed on from generation to generation by Roald Dahl. He may not be alive today, but all his stories and all his books are still deeply loved by children and sometimes adults too. Okay, now let me talk to you about, as I said before, I'll be talking to you about few characters which have been really good. So I'll be talking to you first about Augustus Gloop. So Augustus Gloop, as the Oompa Loompas sing, appears in Roald Dahl's story, Charlie and the Chocolate Factory, which has since been adapted into two films, an opera and a West End musical. Augustus is a young boy who enjoys eating. His mother tells us he eats so much chocolate it would have been impossible for him not to find one of the golden tickets hidden in Willy Wonka's chocolate bars, and so win a trip to the chocolate factory. One thing for certain is that Augustus is a greedy boy. Once inside Willy Wonka's chocolate factory, he's so keen to get started that he won't listen to what Mr. Wonka says and very nearly meets a very sticky end in that chocolate river. Luckily, the Oompa Loompas are on hand to divert Augustus from the fudge room, but it's closed. Now, let me just talk to you about one more person and then we'll move on. I'll talk to you about now Matilda Wormwood. Okay. Maybe we will skip Matilda Wormwood. We'll move on to Violet instead. So Violet was also from the Charlie and Chocolate Factory. She also is a third person to find one of Willy Wonka's golden tickets and secure a visit to the magical chocolate factory. She's a competitive and determined child who takes great pride in her record-breaking gum-chewing abilities. But her excessive gum habit leads her into trouble inside the chocolate factory. As soon as she sees the great gum machine, she's so keen to be the first person in the world to try a full chewing gum meal that she refuses to listen to any of Mr. Wonka's warning. And that, as the might Loompa tell us, is not a very wise decision. So that's done. Now I think we'll move on to the next thing I planned out. So let me just open that up. So yeah. Now let me talk to you about the realistic fiction and characters. First of all, what is realistic fiction? Well, it's a realistic thing which can be happening in the world. For example, you can make a story about a girl who has hair loss. Like that's an example. Like there's this book called Speechless. It's about a girl who has hair loss and wait, no, that was not Speechless. It was Bad Hair Day. Yeah, Bad Hair Day is about a girl who has a hair disease and she wears a wig to school. One day she realizes that one of her friends have got to know about it. But how? She's not told anyone. So that's a real fiction, about a real thing, a fiction-based thing. So, now how do you get a realistic fiction plot? Realistic fiction is usually character-driven, but that doesn't mean it doesn't need a plot. A plot is simply the logical sequence of events in a story that build towards the end through tension and through challenge. Many people attempting to write realistic fiction for the first time will simply recount an experience that happened in their own young lives or to their child. The story has meaning and importance to the writer because it is personal but lacks engagement for the reader because there is no plot. Simply recounting, not a story. A story with a plot is more interesting because it works towards something. It works towards a goal, something important. The character is compelled to act by circumstance and will continue acting until the pressure from the circumstances is resolved. For example, a child who finds himself in a class where the teacher he feels hates him might find the situation intolerable. He may feel compelled to act to change his painful situation. He would have a number of possible choices. He could try to remove the teacher or try to get the teacher to like him, or try to get his parents to change his classroom. All these could be possible choices in response to the pressure the child feels. All might be difficult to accomplish, but only one should work well with the character and situation you have developed. For instance, the child may be in a class with his two best friends, so he definitely does not want to ask for a change of classroom, and the child may think the teacher could never like him. The reason for this should be built into the character and situation. Given those two parameters, the child might try to get the teacher out. He would try putting a rubber snake in her chair, or a frog on her desk, or something. When that doesn't work, maybe he might even try to tell a lie about the teacher that leads to repercussions in the next plan. Now must decide how to resolve. So these are the ways you can build the plot and make it feel realistic and fictionalized. Now, because realistic fiction is contemporary, some writers strive to be very current in the dialogue in the terms of slang or pop culture references. This can sometimes create issues for selling the book because current slang is so fleeting. What is current when you write the book may not be current when you're revising the book and extremely out of time by the time the book is in print. So trying to be very current in slang usually is a bad idea. Still, you want your dialogue to sound and feel realistic. This is usually conveyed through casual grammatic constructions and a sense of energy in the speech for young characters and or attitude for older characters, and all of that grows out of characterization. Now you need to create people who need to feel well-rounded and real. If you do a good job creating those people in your head, the chances that they will sound realistic when you have them speak. Beware, however, there are many gimmicky ways to explain the use of old pop culture references or slang. It has become almost cliche in middle grade and teen novels that the main character just happens to love the music and movies that were current when the author was young. So that's what I have to say. Now, on the way, authors create characters who aren't tied to a specific fleeting moment in pop culture time. It's making like sounding bands that character love and movies the character goes to. Realistic fiction is more reality, so it's alright to come with your own invention for the trendiest brands or media that the character loves, and tie the story to those things only when you really need to do so. Now, the last bits. These are few fiddly bits that you have to think about when you write realistic fiction. One is to choose whether to write in first person or third person, whether to write in complete reality, like write your actual name. That is also a thing to think about, because if you're talking about someone else, you don't want to end up making them feel bad. You want to make sure you get the message out, but not in such a way that people feel bad by what you've written. Realistic fiction can't be every bit as exciting and engaging as any other genre. It has its own style, but you may find it's the sweet spot for your interest, experience, and writing skills. So, as with any genre, the more you read recent realistic novels, the better you'll understand how this genre works. As you read recent realistic novels, ask yourself if you're enjoying the book. Often that's a great sign of whether the genre might be right for you. If you don't like reading realistic fiction, you may not enjoy writing, and you may not do it well enough for publication. So take a trip down to the library or bookstore, or go to Amazon since the pandemic is going on right now, and see what recent publication you can find. This might be just the perfect path for you in the new year. So I give you a good luck, and if you're listening to this podcast and are a writer, I hope you think about this. Thank you guys. Now let's move on. The life of a full-time author I'm going to be talking about now. Writing to Mindy McInnes. So he said, or she said, I'm not really sure. In order to be a writer, you really do have to have the balance of ego and extreme humility. So Mindy McInnes is the award-winning author of 9 novels to date, including Not a Drop to Drink, The Female of the Species, and A Man Is So Discreet. She also hosts the writing podcast and blog Write to Write Pants on Fire. She has been interviewed about the ups and downs of being a full-time writer and distilled her wisdom into 8 lessons that provide a glimpse into the world of authordom. So she said that the road to publishing is long and paved with rejection. She has written 4 novels before her 5th one and was only picked up by an agent and published, which was Not a Drop to Drink. She tried for 10 years to get an agent. Now that was on and off. It wasn't constant querying. Maybe 2-3 months break between feeling so dejected she couldn't continue anymore. That's something she would like to tell aspiring writers. She queried for 10 years, and among published friends in the average, she's about 7 years. While that might be kind of bad, she also thinks it's positive because as people, and you don't have to be an overnight success. So it's hard to get yourself published, but in the end it all works out. Second point, elevator pitches help sell books. So she said that you should always pitch your book in such a way that people want to read it. An author, you can find success in multiple genres, not just stick to one genre, you can stick to multiple. Rewrite a manuscript from scratch is sometimes necessary so that you have a more cleaned out, revised version and use words which are better for people to understand. Now, you have to stay happy by what you're writing. It's not like keep on changing in between. You may shelf your books if you feel that you can't continue more. That's what I have to say. So I hope you guys enjoyed by what I said and learned something new. And I hope to see you all next time. Bye guys.